Hello, welcome everyone. Welcome to Dogs and Doshas. I'm so excited to be here with you today. So is my dear friend Buddha.
Hello, friends.
Happy International Dog Day, everyone. Oh my gosh, this is a big deal for us dog lovers around the world. So I hope that you have had an awesome day and have had some really good quality time to spend with your furry friend. We've been celebrating them every day, but we kind of do that every day over here anyway, so it's felt good though. And so let us know that you're here. We have, all of our commenting capabilities, and we'll have some time for questions a little bit later on. So first of all, I just want to thank all of you and recognize all of you for taking time, 45 minutes today, to be here now. Because I know how much you love your dog, especially on a day like this, and there is nothing that you can do that's better than learn to provide the very best care that you can for them. It is an absolute game changer to how they feel every day, to how long they live, and to what the 2 of you, or the 10 of you, I know many of you have a lot of dogs like I do, but you get to spend so much more quality time with them, far less time worrying about them, going to the veterinary office, taking all that attention and energy away from the other things that you enjoy doing together to try to figure out what's going on with them and how you can help. So this is what this conversation is all about, and this is what the work of Sama Dog is all about, is giving you tools to become the most empowered pet parent that you can possibly be. So you can be the advocate, you can have a toolbox that you go to as soon as something comes up with your fur friend. You understand them better than ever before. You understand what their body is like, what it's composed of, what it needs. You understand what their mind is like, what their personality is like, what got us here, right? After we all took the personality quiz, and how their emotions and kind of their mental process works. So you really understand who your dog is at a deeper level. And then when something comes up, or whether you're just looking to maintain their health, you know exactly how to do it. So thank you again for being here and for choosing to take the time to make this investment in your furry friends and in every dog that you will ever know, really. So, the path of holistic wellness, as many of you know, I see your names here and recognize many of them. And hello, my dear friends. Wonderful to see all of you. And see some new names as well coming in from humid Southern California. I know we're all very warm, even in my little studio here. It's quite toasty upstairs, as you can kind of see. I'm a little shiny. So it's a warm one. But it's great to see all of you here. And again, just knowing that the path of holistic wellness and learning how to care naturally for an animal, or for yourself for that matter, is a path of learning, right? It's a journey. We did not learn that, most of us growing up, and we certainly don't learn it for our animals that easily. Most of us actually learned what we know either from our families, from maybe a couple Google searches, and from our veterinarians. And that's rather limited because there's so much more that we can empower ourselves with, and tools and resources that we have right here. So that's what we're going to get into today, and we'll break down a lot of good stuff for you. So what is the point of this session? Why are we doing it? Because we know that the more you know about wellness and about understanding your dog, the more empowered you are, as mentioned, the better advocate you can be. That's the most important. And then too often we turn all of that power that we have over to other beings, other people, other experts. And although those experts are needed at a certain time in a certain place, there's a huge gap between the time that the expert is needed and where you are right now in your home with your animals every day. And so this is the gap that we're looking to fill and give you the resources for. And then today's session is about deepening your knowledge so that you do understand what your dog needs on every level, and you understand how to provide it to them. So our structure today is going to be that we will review the process of taking the dosha quiz, which I assume most of you did. If you have not, there's an opportunity to do that afterwards, so no worries. As I talk about the different types, you probably will recognize your dog anyway. So we'll go over that. I'll touch on each of the 3 doshas, or the mind-body types, that you would get as a result after taking the quiz. So that will be interesting, and we'll kind of break that down and help you understand the different doshas better. explain how you can use this information to better understand the dog's needs physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually. Answer your questions. So go ahead and type them into the box now or anytime along the way as they come up. We'll definitely have time for that. And then before we wrap up, we're going to do a raffle. We would love to give away one of our online programs to the live audience that's on with us. And so we will do that before we finish, and you'll be so happy if you win. So stay with us till the end. That's when we'll do that in a little bit. So let me ask you a few questions first, and you can just go down to your comments and put the answers in if you will. So over the past few months especially, have you felt more aware of your dog? Have you felt more aware of your dog? Being home, obviously, a bit more than you likely used to be, spending probably more time with them. I'm curious to know how that effect has been on you and your family. So have you been more aware of your dog? Just a simple yes or no is always fine. So another question for you, friends, is what kinds of things have you noticed about your dog's behavior lately? What have you noticed about their behavior lately that you maybe didn't notice before because it wasn't happening? Or maybe it's just been happening over these last few months and now you're starting to really pay attention to that. Okay, great. Now I see some of you. Three of you are watching together. Oh, that's awesome. Yes, right. Oh, that's great. Only had her for 1.5 months. More and more in tune with her, Katrine says. Oh, that's great. Yeah, so I'm sure that most of you are feeling quite in tune with them. And, you know, because of this time with ourselves, we're probably even more aware of our own being, right? Our own state of mind, our own state of body. We're able to extend that attention, that ability to perceive toward our animal companion too. Because, you know, the thing is with our dogs, they don't see a whole lot of difference from us to them. Meaning they're very porous, they're very open, they're influenced by what we're doing, how we're feeling, how we're handling our lives, how we're communicating with others. They feel and interpret all of that and take it into their being as well. So through this process of being home with our animals a bit more, maybe now we are able to notice our what I love to call mirroring capability and benefit from that. So as you're taking steps to heal, balance, ground, kind of restore your family, maintain your good health, you can take those same steps for your animals as well. And these are the techniques that you will learn through the work of understanding the doshas. Michelle says, Swirly and Bunny. They freak out, huh? More anxiety from my work stress. I understand that for sure. I'm just reading through some of your comments here. Okay, so another question is, what's a benefit of your dog, for your dog, I should say, or yourself that you have noticed through this quarantine or social distancing period? What's a benefit that you've noticed? There's always a silver lining to things, right? So same for our animals. What is it that you think they've been enjoying during these few months? I know my dogs on this end have definitely been enjoying more consistency. You know, when life was more busy, when I was pulled out of the house on a more regular basis, I wasn't able to stick to the same timing on everything, the every single morning outings in the same way, finishing work a little bit earlier in the evenings, things like that have been more part of my life lately. And I have noticed that my dogs have benefited so much. They've been doing really great through all of this. Now, I worked from home already, so that's a little bit different than some of us, but that's just kind of what's going on over here. Michelle says, got a hug on her work break. Dory says, my dog is my PTSD service dog and his help has been amazing for me. Oh my gosh. I mean, what would we do without our dogs? Can you even imagine? I've talked to so many people over the last few months that that say the same, that start their conversation the same, that literally even say, I don't know if I'd be here if it wasn't for them, because of that emotional support, the friendship, the loyalty, especially some of us that are all by ourselves while we've been isolated or kind of coming away from people. And with that, we, have that companionship and friendship in our animal friends. It makes all the difference in the world. So I can imagine how that's feeling for you. Katrine says, she enjoys more downtime with me, massages, games extra than ever before. That's awesome. You're getting creative over there, huh? What about when we couldn't go to the parks? That's when it was really tough, right? You got real creative. I get to come home more and take them on breaks. That's great. Sarah, hi Sarah, says more walking times than I didn't have extra borders. Marcy says my dog has been my saving grace during quarantine. I hear ya. Mary says my therapy dog has missed his visits to the hospitals. Oh, I know. My big girl Violet is also a therapy dog, and we haven't been able to do that. I can only imagine for the people who receive the therapy from the dogs, like how they're doing. So hopefully we can all get back to that as soon as possible. Echo, hi Echo. More home cooking and adding fruits and veggies to my dog's meals. That's great. Vicky says we're home all the time, but my pup is still hyper. Well, that's exactly what we're going to talk about, because that's what really this boils down to, is identifying in some of these behaviors what your dog's dosha is, their body-mind type, and what do you do about it. And I think the most important thing to mention before we even get into those details is that all of us, dogs, animals, humans, all have all three doshas present. So they are in us, they kind of make up our recipe, you could say, in slightly different quantities. So that when you do the dosha quiz like you did online, you are getting the assessment at the end when it gives you the result. Your dog is either vata, pitta, or kapha. That is the result that is the predominant dosha. So that's the energy that your dog has strongest in them, in their body and in their mind. However, remember that they do have the others, and that's why listening to a whole conversation like this and not just the one dosha that your dog is very important. Because with that other information, you'll be able to better understand what's going on when you do see something come up. For instance, what did we read here about it's still hyper even though everyone's home, Vicky? Well, your dog might be vata. So Vicky, tell me, is that the assessment? Is that the result of your test that you got or your quiz? And if not, then your dog, like all of our beings, could be having a vata imbalance, meaning, so we'll just kind of narrow in there to what is vata. Vata is air, the airiness and the spaciness and the elements. And so that creates busyness in our dog's kind of being, busyness in the body, a lot of mobility and change and flexibility and mobility. So it likes to move, right? The air and the space are not really stagnant or still. So these beings are also very creative and outgoing and fun-loving, love to talk and love to use their hands. You can kind of tell what one of my doshas is, I'm sure. So that force of movement is the energy of vata. It governs the movement of our physical body as well. And when we notice that in our animals in a balanced way, those qualities are what I just explained. But when imbalanced, it means there's an accumulation of too much air. We become ungrounded, right? We start to float away like a balloon. So that's where anxiety, worry, fears, and things like that start to come up. And that's what your dog might be dealing with, Vicky. So you'll learn more about that as we go. So yes, kind of just looking into that now, this tuning in, that is what's needed to take your care of your dog to the next level. And you've been doing it probably over the last couple of months more than you even realize. Simply in spending more time together, probably in being a little bit more sensitive than we typically are. I know I have been. And therefore being able to just be a bit more in tune, perceptive, interwoven with the beings that you've been spending so much time with. So as we tune in this way, that's where we start to notice if our dog is balanced or imbalanced, basically doing really well and healthy and behaving great or not. And then noticing where is that imbalance expressing itself, what dosha might be out of balance, and then learning exactly what you do step by step, what you can do for that being, whether it's from a physical perspective, body perspective, a mental or behavioral training perspective, or even just energy work, meditation, affirmation, breathing exercise, Reiki, all of that falls into this body of knowledge. Which, by the way, I should share that this is Ayurveda. That's the umbrella of the work that we do at Samadog. Ayurveda for dogs. And Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word based in the ancient language in India. And it translates to the science of life or the science of nature. And it applies so well to our dogs because clearly they're such an expression of nature. And Ayurveda, so you know where it kind of fits in the bigger picture of all these mind-body healing principles or sciences, they say it's the sister science to yoga and meditation. You could call it the three legs of the stool. So Ayurveda is the mind-body healing system, the medical system. You could call it the wellness, the lifestyle system that we get to learn, whether we're talking about it for ourselves or for our animals, again, how to be our own health practitioner, how to take control of our own health and our dog's health through Ayurveda. So very important principles within Ayurveda are those mind-body types, the doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha. So I touched on vata a little bit. We will continue on with that too. Let me actually back up just a little bit and talk about the quiz before we even get to the doshas themselves, because that's what we'll do first before we know the results, of course. So just because some of you did have some questions about this, I want to make sure I address them. So first of all, when you're doing the quiz online, it's about 13 questions, right? One very important thing to keep in mind, and some of us really want to do it right? We want to make sure that every answer is accurate so we get that feedback. Well, the more kind of loose and quick and easy you do this quiz, the better your results are going to be, because the more we overthink it, we kind of start to skew things. So if you come to an answer and you don't know, I hear that sometimes, like this, none of these apply to my dog, none of the three options, right? Then you just choose the one that would either has been your dog in the past or could be something your dog could tend towards. Like, for instance, going back to barking. Some dogs are trained well, they're balanced dogs, they have a great relationship with you, they have a great relationship with themselves. Therefore, they're not yapping all the time uncontrollably. But you've taught them that, you've got them there, and so their tendency to bark could be quite high. So that's how you would answer that particular question. So hopefully that makes sense. So these questions are categorizing your dog into the three different doshas. And at the end, as mentioned, what you get is what is the predominant dosha, keeping in mind that your dog has the other two, but that main one is what you want to just keep your eye out for. That's where your dog will tend towards its imbalances, its health challenges, its behavior challenges, is toward that particular dosha energy. So now, carrying on through the dosha energies to make sure I round it out nicely for you, is there's a vata, pitta, and kapha. So to just touch on each, and then we'll give you an example. So we mentioned vata is that airiness, right? Light and dry. That needs to be grounded. That's the most important thing about our vata friends. Then pitta, that's the second of the doshas. This predominant energy or element is fire and a little bit of water. So these beings are very strong and focused and bright and clear and energetic and smart and keen, just really sharp, want to look you dead in the eyes and make really good eye contact all the time. When out of balance and that fire gets too hot, however, it can start to scorch things, right? It can get way too hot within the body, resulting in things like inflammation, super common for pitta animals and people. Or in the mind, what do you think too much hot fire in the mind looks like? You might have experienced this a bit. I know I have some days here and there over the last couple of months. Yes, we can get a little intense, right? We get a little sharp, critical, sometimes a bit aggressive. For dogs, we can really see that energy. And then the last, kapha, that dosha is the energy of the element earth and water. So that is more stable, grounded, heavy, consistent, loyal. These earthy animals and humans are just like the salt of the earth, as they use that saying, right? They're just like, they're there for you. They're easygoing. They're not drama dogs or people. However, when out of balance, that earthiness becomes too heavy. And now they need to be energized and uplifted and brought back into that kind of stream of flow and engagement that they sometimes will move away from when they're feeling a little too much heaviness. So I wanted to share with you an example of each of the doshas briefly, just so you know how it can show up in our dogs. For those of you that have been with us for a while, which I recognize many of your names here, you know my dog's names and you're familiar with some of these stories already. But with Vata, and with all doshas really, we want to learn how to break down everything that influences them. And that's why we have made the courses that we've made. We've made comprehensive, detailed, step-by-step guidance for you to be walked through this information, because it is a lot of information, I do have to say. If you're brand new to it, it's like, what were those words again in a different language? But please don't let those words intimidate you, or the use of things that you have not heard of before. We make it very simple. We start from A, we work our way to Z, and we have a lot of fun through the process. That's an important part of dogs, right? So what we come to recognize is we hone in to everything that has a strong influence on our animals and their environment. And then we have, again, this specific matched tool set of options and healing modalities that we can pull out and use for whatever situation's going on. So with a Vata example of Maya, my cockapoo, we noticed that she would often become constipated. And so by understanding her dosha was Vata, again, that airiness, right? Kind of gets in the guts, gets in the gut. I mean, not necessarily in the guts. In there, it dries out the body. It can dry out the mind, but it can dry out the intestines. And that's why the constipation can happen. So by understanding that she's Vata, that helped me to know that she was dry on the inside, bringing us to add more moisture to her meals and her environment. And she's been steady and really consistent with her digestive system ever since. And that was just one change that we made in her life, but right away recognizing what the dosha was and how you bring in that opposite. By the way, that's an important highlight to make, is that Ayurveda is all about the system of opposites. And so when we have too much air, we look to ground, right? When we have too much earth, we look to elevate and lighten. So it's kind of like that. We have too much fire, we look to cool it down. We have too much coolness, we fire it up, and so on. So that's what we're constantly looking to do. So in the case of Maya, as mentioned, we then learned how to moisturize her because she was a little bit too dry. Okay, so moving to Pitta dosha. We've got Benny, my little terrier, who many of you know. He started becoming aggressive, this was just recently, with dogs at the park, around his ball especially. They would come up and he always like fended them off, a little bit. But now you guys know it. It's the, sorry if I scared you. I scared these dogs behind me. But that's what he'll do, right? It's like completely out of hand. It was this tone in his voice that I hadn't heard before. And I was like, what is up with Benny? So we remembered and just kind of got in tune again to how hot this summer has been, and especially these last few days. So we moved our walks much earlier in the morning, and then we also brought ice water in our thermos with us. So we would always give them water afterwards anyway, but now we brought some ice water to cool him down even quicker. And now he's been much more pleasant. He was just out this morning. Now he's hiding in the shade a little bit when he needs a moment, but I did not hear the ever since. And then Kapha. Our Kapha friend is Boo Boo. He is a Chihuahua that stayed with us for several months, and we worked on creating Kapha balance for him. This guy, it was like famous basically for despising exercise and for being a bit grumpy because he had gained way too much weight. So we worked to find something that would excite and engage Boo Boo. So what we finally came to realize is that swimming was really great for him because it helped him be able to move really easily. It was just too much for him before with swimming, and he had his little life vest on, so he could just kind of float on top of the water, right, and paddle. So he liked that. It was like the perfect amount of movement for him. Plus, when he got out of the water, like most dogs do, he got all crazy when he was wet, and he'd run around and be very energetic, which was also something we wanted to create for Boo Boo. So that is how the doshas work. That is how we can learn to notice what our dog needs and meet them at that need. So again, It's a huge path of study though, right? For 20 years now, I've been studying Ayurveda for humans for 20 years. About 10 years ago, I started diving into holistic health for animals, for dogs specifically. They've always been my besties. My dog saved my life when I was 3 years old. I was drowning in the pool in our backyard, and our dog saved me, so I might not even be here without him. And that's why I know my soul just wanted to dedicate so much of my existence to helping and serving them and helping their lives to be better. And so, you know, I have taken the time, the years, the passion to learn all of this, and then to, as a teacher, having honed that skill over so many years, be able to package it up in the right way to make it easy, again, fun. It's a big part of what's important to me, and hopefully you too. And to be able to make it bite-sized bits, so you never feel overwhelmed. You feel like every time you have a conversation about it, you take something else away and you know what to do with that. And then the next thing you know, you're at home and something comes up with your dog, and suddenly you start to see it through what I call the goggles of Ayurveda. And suddenly it becomes a lot more clear. So let's see here. Gaining knowledge to make these solutions is the path of natural wellness for dogs. That's what this is all about. So the question is, how do we learn this? So after you took your dosha quiz, you were directed, perhaps you saw, to a resource page. So this is a robust list of resources, information, more details about every one of the 3 doshas. If you haven't seen that already, you didn't see it in your email or go to the link, you can go to samadog.com/doshas, and that is where you will find all of that information. So that can get you started right now. As soon as we get off this call, you can start diving into more of those details if you haven't already. And then, you know, we asked you guys, what did you want? How do you want to learn this? You told us, and we listened, and we created a brand new course. We've run it one time this year. You might have heard about it. It's called Ayurveda for Dogs 101. So right there, it's showing you that it's really giving you the foundation of this knowledge. And it's coming up. We did it the first time a few months ago. We had great results from that. We all had a great time. We became very bonded, many of us on the line here. And I hear every day about different experiences, breakthroughs, healings that your dogs are having and that you humans are having too. So that's what's very special and very deep in my heart about this work, is it includes everybody, and its ripple effect is huge. So Ayurveda for Dogs is going to teach you a few things, you know, a few specific areas that'll really hone into according to your dog's dosha and how to specify it for them, which are meals and supplements, the environment, being very aware of how that's influencing them, daily exercise and other care routines, and energy balancing practices to benefit each one of the doshas, and much, much more. There are 2 different ways to access the course. You've got your full course, or you've got what we call premium, which you would have some Q&A opportunities with the group. So all of those details can be found at ayurvedafordogs.com. You know, Trish, our business manager, is on the line with us. She's in the background, but she can put those up for you. We can put that banner here. I can do it right now just so that you guys can see that. There you go, ayurvedafordogs.com, because it can be a little tricky. It can be a little bit tricky to spell Ayurveda. So there you go. It can also be a little tricky to pronounce Ayurveda. But those are all the details that we will get more into as we experience this class together. So it's designed to be 3 weeks. It starts on Tuesday, September 8th, so just in a couple weeks from now. You can learn all the details at the website, as I mentioned. And what's important for you to know is that there's early bird pricing. It's available now through this Sunday. That's the least that we will offer the course at. It'll go up after that. And so on the website, you'll find all those details. You'll see the price differences and whatnot. All right, friends. So I want to take some of your questions now, but before we do that, we had promised a raffle, and we're going to do it. Are you guys ready? So for anyone that is feeling interested in this course, and this is something that you would like to explore, say yes in your comments right now, because that is what's going to enter you into the raffle. And the raffle is to win an Ayurveda for Dogs 101 free enrollment, of course. So go ahead and put your comments in if you are interested in this course, if this is something that you would know that would really be a good fit for you, your dog, where you're at in your life. You're ready. We'd love to be with you. We invite you to come along. Tell us yes. Oh, look, there's the drum roll. Thank you, Katrine. Thank you. That's awesome. Yes, and I see some questions coming in too. We'll do that next. So I'll give you all a moment before we pull a name. We don't want to be, too fast to draw here. So give us a yes if you want to get entered in. And Ayurveda is just such a fun conversation, as you see. Like I mentioned, if this is the first time you've ever heard the word, you're good. You're in the right place, because from here on, it just builds. And this was literally the perfect step to start with, was a kind of basic introductory conversation like this. And then, it unfolds. All right. So, oh, thank you, Lorraine. Yes, I was wondering about that. Have any of you attended Ayurveda for Dogs 101? Let us know. I know Lorraine did. She said it's great. Yes, it's a great idea. Anybody else attended it? Tell us what you thought. So Trish will go ahead behind the scenes and pull our winner. And then Trish, you can go ahead and just post it into the comments for us. Good luck, everyone. Good luck. We'd love to see you and your furry friend there. Millet Send is our winner. Woohoo! Meli is probably how you pronounce that. Sorry if that is incorrect, but it's a beautiful name. And congratulations! Yay! Oh, there's Meg. Hello, Meg. Meg took the course this last time. By the way, you guys, Meg Harrison, who's on with us right now, is the founder of Blackwing Farms. That's another amazing dog wellness company, animal wellness company, providing support tools. We talk about that a lot in our course. Tammy, yes, Tammy attended. Wonderful course. Thank you, Tammy. So great. I'm so happy for you guys. Echo, yes, a new way of thinking. She attended. Pitta really resonates with me for my young German Shepherd, Eli. Oh, that's great. Katrine, woof, woof, congratulations. Oh, that's great, you guys. Yes, so we will look forward to seeing you in a couple weeks. We hope to see many of you in a couple weeks. We can't wait. And, I love to walk through this journey with you. I, as you can see, love to provide support and answers to all your questions. So, it's not that we don't need, I just want to finish here before we go into questions, it's not that we don't need or want veterinarians in this world, because we absolutely do. Holistic ones way better, because they are so aligned with this way of thinking, with natural science. That said, we can't necessarily go running out to the vet every single time something comes up with our dogs, and many of us do. I always did. So it's not only just preventing vet visits, but it's actually coming to understand what's going on with our animals at such a level that we tune into, as I mentioned, what they need and all the different things that can be done to get them back on track. There's a lot, far before needing to go to the doctor. So just like with your children, your human children, if you have them, or your nieces and nephews, or anybody that you're caretaking for, really, as soon as something presents itself, you don't go book a appointment at the doctor, you go into your cabinet, right? And you start pulling things out. But that's because you learned what to pull out. So that's why we're here. That's why I created Samadog. That's why our team is so passionate, is to be able to show you what to pull out of that cabinet. Whether it's physical or whether it's energetic or emotional, you will be a great resource. All right, so let's take some of your questions. Hello, my brother. He's on the line with us too. I love you. Laura, absolutely agree. Great, Laura. Nice to have you here. And Rena. Rena is like Rena Gresset. You guys see her there. She is our oldest Samadog fan. I think she was the OG, the first one that ever came. Rena, how many times have you heard the conversation, Dogs and Doshas? You could give this talk. All right, so let's move on to some of your questions. Trish, if you'll just filter through there and pull up, go ahead and broadcast any questions and we'll read them out. What you can do there, Trish, is I think if you have access to it, you would just show it. You would just go in and show that one. So I can find Michelle's question. I can do this a little bit too. I just don't want to get too distracted. Here's one. Yes, this is it. So I'll just show it here. Michelle, I had a challenge with the quiz because my dog is new. And so far, she seems like a completely different dog when she's in the house versus outside when I walk her? Yes. So that is a great question, Michelle. Same goes for very young dogs. It's not always easy to know where they're at with things. You maybe haven't known them long enough, or they haven't displayed they haven't displayed all of the attributes to show you how to answer those questions, right? So I would say just give it a little more time. And I would say, when in doubt, default to vata, the grounding. Because I think all of us know the first thing that happens in our lives when things get a little off balance, we start worrying, we get fearful, we start to get a little anxious, maybe we don't sleep so well. All of those are symptoms of vata. So to help us get down onto earth, to calm down, to plug in, to get balanced again, vata is always going to be the first step to take on that journey if we don't really know where else to go. They call it the king of the doshas for that reason. So hopefully that helped you a little bit. Let's go on to another question here. Megan says, my dog is Pitta and had an incident with another dog who approached her and she snarled at him and he went for her throat. Oh, geez. It really scared us. Heat could be an issue for sure. But on walks now, I'm concerned when she starts snarling at other dogs. Any advice for what to do in those moments? On some hiking trails, people don't keep their dogs on a leash and she doesn't appreciate being approached. Yes, I can certainly relate. This specific issue, reactivity on a leash, is something that we get into in the course. What I will say is, yes, especially in summertime, the heat is likely a concern, or it has exacerbated the problem. I would take steps to meet the symptom, to meet the cause of the problem rather than the symptom. So the symptom is the snarling and anxious or kind of aggressive reaction that she had. But the root of the problem is an imbalance of some kind. And that's what we can narrow into. Pitta, starting with Pitta, the fiery element, starting to cool into balance. You'll receive some ideas right there on your resources page that we talked about. And then, you can continue to learn more if you want. To get at the core of the body to kind of cool that internal fire first. So then when the animal goes out, they're basically more chill already. They're already in a better mood. They're a bit less reactive. And then there are other things that you can do as you're walking. You keep some distance. There's ways that we'll talk about, with behavior training. You get eye contact, especially for a Pitta dog. I think I mentioned that, yes, that they love direct eye contact. So working with an animal to alter their behavior based on what they naturally like to do is what you're going to learn to do with doshas, and that can really help in a situation like that. All right, let me just see here. Marnie says, question, I wish I knew about this earlier, as our newly inherited dog needed spine surgery 1 month after she came into our family. Well, Marnie, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sure that was a big surgery. It always is. Those kinds of things. But the good news is it's never too late. It's never too late to learn this. Now you are, and now you can continue to, and you will, your dog is here. They're going to have, just like all of us, things that come out up and down throughout life, right? Ailments that come up. They're going to have moments where they're in really good health, physically, emotionally, and then other times where it's not so much. So now you'll be able to know exactly what to do. Yes, there are Ayurvedic things that you would do for an animal healing from surgeries, anti-inflammatory and kind of just boosting the immune system and boosting the healing benefit of the body. I should say that, that's the goal, by the way. That's what sama means. The word sama in Sanskrit is balance, equanimity. So the goal is to bring the body-mind back into sama so that it can heal itself. So that we don't need to know why they had an ear infection, why they reacted poorly on that leash, why Benny did the bark at the park. I mean, we got to know it, but you don't always need to know. But when you understand the foundation of balancing, you can create that for your animal without working out into the details. And that's what you can see oftentimes, when you're working on just boosting the healing system. You bring them back to sama. I kind of say that all the time because it's like the core of healing. You bring them back to sama, and from that place, the rest is taken care of by source, by the system working at its optimal way, in its optimal way. How do I deal with my dog who is too doshas? All right, good question. That is called bi-doshic. We break down the details in Ayurveda for Dogs course. We basically just want to notice, most importantly, which, if either, is out of balance. So that's when they are a little heightened in that element, right? So it's the airiness, too much firiness, or too much earthiness, to simplify it. So when you know there are two doshas, you just start to pay attention to which one needs balancing now and make your selections from that point. If you had a dog that one of those doshas was pitta, here we are in the middle of a very hot summer, I would probably be lending towards the pitta balancing at this point, so that you could, just help the body to stay in balance, because it has that tendency to become a little hot. Okay, let's show this one. Dory, my dog Romeo got Vata, and I also got Vata on a human quiz. Great. I am wanting to cook for him. What would we need the same things? Or how does human and dogs compare as in doshas? Yes, the simple question is yes, you would need the same things. And isn't that fun? That's the great part. I love to take wellness classes and learn. I've dedicated my life to this. I think many of you have too. But I think many of you probably relate, since you're here, that it's a lot more fun to learn about these things when we're putting it in the context of our dogs. It just makes it more exciting. It makes it lighter. It makes it love-centered. When sometimes we think about ourselves, we get very serious, right? So that's the beauty of this course and these works, the offerings that we have, is you will learn Ayurveda for everybody. So to answer your question specifically, yes, you probably oftentimes will reflect the same doshas as our animals. We talked about the mirroring. And then, yes, the same foods, the same aromas, the same sounds, the same sights, the same experience, the same balancing protocol would be used for both of you. Now, I will just pause there and say there are a few exceptions, because animals can't eat or do everything that humans can. And that's what you'll learn throughout this, is really customizing it to animals. To dogs specifically, I should say. Okay, I'll take two more questions. My 15-month Pitta German Shepherd has been prescribed sedatives prior to vet visits because he is too wild there. I don't want to give them to him, but don't know what else to do. Yes, that is sad to do, because obviously we don't want to give our dogs things like that because they're prescription. Now, there's a lot to say on this. You would learn a great deal about calming your dog down, but just to give you a couple specifics, one is that there are natural, let's call it, I don't even want to call it sedatives, because they're not. They're natural calming herbs. An example of one, oh, I thought I had it. Here is ashwagandha. Perhaps you've heard of it. Another kooky Sanskrit name, but that's what it is, ashwagandha. It is a great stress defense. So what you could potentially do before your dog went into the vet is give them ashwagandha for a couple of days, and that might help. There are also calming sprays. I mentioned our beautiful friend Meg with Black Wing Farms. Awesome company, check it out, blackwingfarms.com. They have sprays, here's one right here, that you spray in your animal's environment, and that would help calm them down. And so you would spray it in the car, you'd spray it when you just get into the vet office, things like that. So that's just a couple tips, but those could help a lot. The body-mind approach. We talked about herbs, right? And then we talk about aroma. Aroma is like through the mind, influencing the mind. So that's how that will work. Do the rest of my dogs know that Lola is my favorite? The thing with dogs, I don't know. I have not spoken to any of your dogs or Lola, but I do know that the great thing about dogs is that they don't get hung up on that kind of stuff. They wouldn't even care if they weren't the favorite dog. As long as you love them, you're present for them, you give them the best from your heart, they are so accepting, right? That's one of the things that makes them so beautiful. We have so many people in our lives, or we can have people in our lives that need from us, and that it's so there's so many ways that they want us to show up, and our dogs don't need any of that, and that's just a relief. At least it is for me. I think it probably is for a lot of us. Gordon says, how does your course teach this? Well, good question. Yeah, I think you're talking about like the doshas. The way we teach it to be practical, we've got videos, video lessons, 3 modules, videos for each one. They're supported by handouts, comprehensive handouts for each of the modules, and many other support resources. So educational videos, audio downloads, additional blogs for resource, and whatnot. Then, as mentioned a little earlier, perhaps you heard, if you select the premium option, which is kind of like your upgrade, if you wanted to do that, that then gives us an opportunity on the Fridays to have a phone call like this together, but we get on Zoom, and we are able to get your questions answered. So that's another great opportunity for learning. So that's basically how it is. Video, audios, resources, obviously all online. We recommend that you pace yourself over 3 weeks and you dive into, in the first module, basically like what is Ayurveda? The second module is how does it apply to each of the doshas, and what are the tips for balancing? And then the third is how do I integrate this into my dog's life, and what are some of the case studies that we've had to be able to see how to weave this in, how to serve our dogs best. Good question. All right, I'm just going to scroll down, see if anybody else has any burning needs. I think we touched on most of them, so I will leave it there, friends. Thank you so much. Please don't hesitate a moment to ask questions to us directly. You can email support@samadog.com. Maybe Trish, you can type that into the box so they have that also. You can email us there. We'll be back in touch with you as soon as we can. You have questions about the course. You know, if you go to the page, you'll see the syllabus and all the details, and far more into what we've touched on here. And just let us know if anything comes up. So we look forward to seeing you guys and reconnecting in a few weeks or whenever it may be. Thank you for being part of our community. Thank you for loving your dogs the way you do. And we wish you lots of love, especially today on National Dog Day. Namaste. Bye for now.